Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. I have with me this week Angela Joy, and she is the award-winning founder of the JoyHut, a mind-body energy coaching hub. She guides highly capable women who look successful on the outside, but privately feel constricted, flat, or they carry unexplainable emotional and physical pain that's affecting their work and their home life. She brings that into clarity, focus, embodied freedom so that they can flourish in what they love and make the most of every single day. She has 20 plus years of experience. She's a Bachelor of Health Science, a Master NLP and Hypnosis, and she uses tools like EFT tapping and somatic nervous system work to help support her clients to get down to the root of what's keeping you stuck rather than just managing the symptoms. So, Angela, hello and welcome.
Hello, Macy. Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited to dive into today's topic, but first, I want to hear a little bit more about you. What brought you to doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, well, I'd say that the start of it was basically my personal experience. So, living the life of, a young girl who was very active and then suddenly overnight, all of that was basically stripped away. So, around mid-teens it was. I started developing symptoms. My body was trying to communicate something to me. I had a lot of injuries going on. I wasn't recovering well. So I delved into the world of how does our body function, what's going on for me, because nothing in the textbooks was basically adding up for what I was experiencing. So yeah, diving into it personally for myself, I realized that a lot of the trauma that I experienced with how the injuries came about and things that were happening to me as a young person who was very sensitive to the environment around her, I tended to take a lot of the emotions of others on. And, I was very good at supporting people, even in the schoolyard as a young girl. But I would kind of take that stuff home with me. So I had a lot emotionally, energetically sitting in my body, but then also my own conditioning that obviously my soul wanted to break through. And I decided coming into this lifetime that I was obviously the one in our family and the generations to change things,
Yeah.
injury and illness basically forced me to really look at how I was living and what my thoughts were on a daily basis, what my energy was doing in my body, and how I was interacting with the outside world. So that was the start of it, and then growing up, it was also delving into relationships and what was happening within that arena. And I ended up becoming a solo mum, so that just again forced me into really starting to pay attention even more on lots of different levels of my own life. So
Yeah.
I love everything, mind, body, energy connected. And there was a very big interest there for me. And, then it developed into, okay, well, now I've got to be the one to do something about what's going on in my own life. And so that's where I just learned. I just sucked it all in, and I just, was saturating myself with knowledge and experience and talking to a lot of people about it, trying lots of different things to really just help myself, because I wanted to be the one to be able to not only just manage what was going on for me symptom wise, but also get to the heart of that and to really
Yeah.
change things. So yeah, so after experiencing it personally, then I was like, hey, there's something in this. So I decided to study, get my certifications, and then help other people and support them in their own journey that way.
I love that. So I have a question. When you were getting started with everything, going through your injuries, were you already in the mindset of like being healthy? Like, were you eating healthy? Were you working out?
I was very athletic, but it was only because I found it fun. It wasn't because I was necessarily just aiming for health and well-being. I was
Right.
just having fun at that age, and I loved dance. I loved, trying lots of different sport at school, etc. And then I loved, being born in the country. We had a lot of space, so I just loved exploring and getting out there and experiencing what life had to offer. And then when I moved to the sunny Gold Coast on the ocean side, I loved being in nature. I loved being in the ocean. So I just found myself really wanting to just suck the juice out of every single day and just loving life and seeing what the possibilities were. So it was more of a drive for, okay, well, what can I experience in this life rather than it's only just about health and well-being. But then of course, as time went on, I discovered, well, if we don't have our own health and well-being, then we don't have much at all. So we
Yep,
need
you're
to walk around
correct.
in this body.
And I think that's true for a lot of people because I get some clients that come in, they're doing all the right things, but they've got all these unexplained symptoms. Doctors can't explain it. They've gone to so many people, they've spent thousands at this point trying to figure it out, but nobody's getting down to the root cause. And I think a lot of times where I feel practitioners tend to get it wrong is that they're not asking the deeper rooted questions. They're not asking, how'd you grow up? They're not asking, what are your stress levels like? How's your home life? You talk about being a single mom. We have a lot of people in the audience who have the same lifestyle, of leaving relationships and then carrying all those burdens.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big turning point for me was when I suddenly fell pregnant. It wasn't planned, but love his little soul. And it was a shock, and I grew up with the idea of getting married, having your babies and doing everything in a particular order. But
Mm-hmm.
it didn't happen for me that way. So there was a lot to deal with, even mentally, around, oh my gosh, like I'm the black sheep, or what I like to call the rainbow sheep of the family, where it's kind of like I'm doing it so different to everyone else. And
Yeah.
even just the concept of how do I fit in still with my family and the values that I grew up with, but this is how my life is going. And obviously now I can see why, because it's obviously helped me to be able to become the person that I am, to be able to support other women in the same space. However, it's really challenging back then. And then when I split with my son's father, that was like massive
Yeah.
for me, because it took me a long time to get to that decision. And it wasn't until I was changing his little nappy on the floor and he reached up and he just put his hand on my face. And I was just sort of teary that day because I'm like, what is going on in my life? And when he did that, it was just that moment of like, oh my goodness, this is affecting him so much more than I thought. Being
Yeah.
in this toxic relationship. So I found the courage then to finally say, okay, I'm prepared to be hated on, to do what I need to do, to step up and to just, work with my fears around how am I going to afford to support this little baby, because he was only
Yeah.
3 at the time. And what is everyone going to think of me?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
breaking up a family unit. And it was so hard to do that. But now, in hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, you kind of look back and you go, wow, my life could have been so different if I didn't make that decision.
Yeah. And then, also sitting in that aspect, because you now coach people through that clarity and that focus, but also to that freedom, whether it's home, whether it's business, whether it's whatever the entrapment is. And I love that that is what you do for your clients because it's the same aspect that that you walked through. It's those moments
Mm.
of there's probably some guilt, there's probably some shame, there's probably some embarrassment, there's probably some oh my god moments. you
Yep,
know, and
absolutely.
then getting to that freedom, just like you say, you don't know where you would have been not having left, it would have probably either gotten worse, or it would have just taken you out of that alignment space, like where you are now. And I think there's a lot to say in that for a lot of our audience because I've walked that same boat. That's been a
Yeah.
lot on my mind too of where would I have been if I stayed? I'm so grateful for where I am now.
Yeah. It's like that sliding door moment, right?
Yeah, it is. Or that moment
And
that
it's
you look
like,
in the mirror and you actually look in the mirror and you're like, I look like this.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I know if I had not made the decisions I made, I would be so bored with my life, and I've always been that little person inside that just, as I said before, wanted to see how far I could take things, wanted to experience everything. And if I had settled, I know
Yeah.
I would just be so bored, and then things would just have gotten worse and worse and worse because back then my body was trying to communicate to me. So imagine what 30 odd years later, where it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, you didn't listen.
You didn't listen the first time. Here's more symptoms.
Absolutely.
So
So, yeah. So,
on that note, what are some symptoms that your body was going through that maybe some people in our audience they might be familiar with, or maybe they're not realizing, oh, hey, these are signals.
yeah, absolutely. After the injury that I had, it was a hamstring tear and it just wasn't healing properly. So the investigation started around that. But then they discovered that I ended up with fibromyalgia and chronic
Mm,
fatigue. So I was extremely tired going from somebody who was, two or three different jobs at a time, two or three different sports at a time, very active, to suddenly not being able to walk down the street for 10 minutes without feeling like I was going to pass out.
yeah.
It was, really hard. So a lot of those symptoms, include obviously the fatigue, the body pains, just the real unexplainable stuff, even the gut health. Like, they put it down to IBS, but it's like, well,
Mhm.
why? Where is this coming from? And just the joint pain. So it was like I suddenly overnight was an old woman in a young body, and it didn't add up. So I figured out the pattern that my body was actually showing me. So one of the keys that I discovered quite early was that every time I started getting a sore throat, that was the beginning of me, sort of becoming overwhelmed and stressed within my body. And if I didn't pay attention to it and if I didn't change what I was doing at that time and rest and do what I needed to do, then it would turn into a headache, and then it'd add on some more pain, and then I'd be
Mm,
really upset in the stomach. So, it was just this whole systemic experience in the end. But I could eventually break it down to what the early signs were, and that helped a lot because that enabled me to really be more proactive with my own healing and to pay attention to where my thoughts were, to where my energy and emotions were at the time or just before I was experiencing those symptoms. Because then I started seeing that metaphysical anatomy around what was going on for me. So I could join the dots, and that went a long way for me to be able to go, all right, well, I can get ahead of this a little bit, and that felt empowering, and it felt freedom even within that,
yeah.
because instead of looking outside of me and kind of going, okay, well, tell me what's wrong, tell me what do I need to do, no one knew. And I'm the only one that's in my body, that lives my body, and I just needed somebody to hold that space for me. So that's what I try to do for people now, because you've got all the answers inside of you, your body's
Yeah.
constantly showing you, but we're not taught how to understand it, how to read it. So yeah, that's one of the goals that I have every time I meet somebody, to just empower them to be able to, pay attention to the things that they perhaps didn't learn how to do in the past.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that because it sounds like you're in the space of the pattern recognition, which is
Yeah,
what,
absolutely.
even I do as a trauma healer for my clients. Identify the pattern. You identify the pattern, you can break the curse or whatever the entrapment is. And I love that you recognize that for yourself. I had a client who every Sunday would get a headache and it would turn into a
Mhm.
horrible migraine. And I kept asking, why on Sunday? Like,
Yeah,
why not Friday? Why not Thursday?
yeah.
And so having that conversation, I knew it was a trauma related pattern, but it took us a couple of weeks. And once I finally like, hey, tell me the event of this. When did this happen? Same day. So the body was just
Mm.
preparing and embracing, even though it's not repeating the same trauma again, it's showing the signal. And so we were
Uh,
able to break that pattern. But it sounds like that's the same thing that you're showing your clients. So I'm curious, what are some of the tools that you use? I know EFT tapping is one of them, but what are some tools that you use that can also help people to get back in their body and and recognize that and get down to that root?
yeah, yeah. So it's really just understanding how your energy works. So traditional Chinese medicine even has so much wisdom in, what we can learn from our bodies and how we operate at different times of the day. So I even help people understand, the basics, obviously not going too much into the art of it, but
Right.
understanding the basics of how the meridians work and where the energy is in your body at certain times of the day. So are we in yang mode? Are we in yin mode? And what are the things that we could choose to do at those certain times of the day that help our body to feel supported and to build our energy rather than deplete us? So just even little things like, connecting the energy, pathways better. So tapping's one way of doing that. Using your thoughts and pivoting on those thoughts and reframing even can really influence your energy. Obviously, emotionally, helping people to be able to move through those emotions by witnessing that version of you that needed to be witnessed and integrated at the time. But because there was so much going on, it was impossible because you needed to survive that moment to be able to deal with it then. Dealing with it now and whatever tool helps that person to be able to do that is something that is really important, because you don't want to grab the past by the balls basically and throw it into the future. Excuse my
Yeah.
expression, but that's as simple as I can put it, because it's like that's what we do, right? So
Yeah.
recognizing that the past is in the past and we have a lot of control over what happens in our next moment. And so, you know, teaching people the focused work to be able to really harness, that manifestation ability of that next moment, and really getting yourself into the frequency of working toward what you want rather than just constantly trying to get away from, the past and what you don't want to have repeat, even though your body's in that moment. So it can be anything from the EFT to, some NLP techniques, just even a lot of intuitive healing as well is what I bring into it. Trauma-informed somatic work as well, to really build that relationship that you can have with your body, because your body is your best friend. It is there
Yeah.
for you,
Yes.
but we think our body's betraying us because it's
Yeah.
developing all these symptoms. No, it's the messenger, right? So
That's exactly
yeah,
it.
connecting the mind body energy is very much that focus, and whatever it takes to do that.
I love that. So it sounds like you're taking that personalized approach. Whatever the client needs is what you're supporting. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do, find that there's certain things that I will do with 100% of my clients. Like the EFT is so great because I get to be able to teach them the basics up front. And from day one, they can walk away with at least doing something in between our calls that feels more empowering for themselves. And they will notice those shifts. And you don't even have to believe that it works for it to actually work. You just got to do it, right? So a lot of these tools, it's like doing a yoga class. You could go into doing a yoga class just to stretch and feel good, but there's so much more going on that you don't realize in that yoga class that's in your body that's shifting and changing. So just creating the awareness around how you can use your body and how you can use your mind is massive, and teaching people how to do that actually fits in with their lifestyle already. So transformation doesn't have to be hard. We don't have to do all of the modalities that are the latest thing. It's
Yeah.
just finding those things that are really helpful for each and every individual.
Yeah. I enjoy the tapping. In the
Yeah.
beginning, it felt like it was a bit more like making me more anxious because I had to focus on the tap. But I think
Mhm.
also over time it kind of became more of the sense of self, if you will. And
Yeah.
bringing it back into that body experience in that present moment to get rid of oh, my thoughts are chasing over here. Oh, my thoughts are chasing over here. Now my anxiety is up.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And the whole
yeah.
point of it is not to really necessarily try and rid yourself of something. We're not trying to necessarily get rid of pain. We're not trying to necessarily get rid of anxiety. That'd be nice, but the only way you can get rid of it is to be present in the moment anyway. So the whole point of EFT is to really just bring you back into your body and acknowledge the truth that's happening for you right here and right now. And once
Yeah.
you do that, the body just goes to work. It knows what to do, you
Yep.
know?
Yep. So tell me a little bit more about NLP. If we've got some listeners in here who aren't familiar with NLP, share with me a little bit more about that and how you use that.
Yeah, so NLP is basically the language of the nervous system. So we use that in a few different ways that help you really train your mind and your nervous system on what it is that you can focus on. So we walk around all the time filtering all of the information through our own mind, and it's very subjective. So how you were brought up is going to be how you operate in your life today, unless you realize that there's more out there. So with NLP, often will connect you with the possibilities of different ways that you can see the world, different perspectives, different strategies that you can actually use to be able to bring those new experiences into how you do life today. So, for example, if I'm really good at, say dancing, if I'm really good at that and I feel great when I'm doing it and I'm thinking positively when I'm doing it and my energy's moving and my body's moving, I've got a really good relationship with my mind body energy happening at that time. But then if I go and I say in the past when I used to absolutely despise public speaking, I'd get up on stage and I'd freeze. So one of the things that we can do in NLP is to subconsciously re-imprint, which basically means, taking how you do dancing now. So what you're thinking, what you're feeling, how your energy is moving, and then map it across into something like public speaking so that you can start to anchor in your nervous system all these positive experiences that are from a completely different scenario, but you practice using the same strategy so that when you get up on stage you're ready to go, and you can bring the confidence in to be able to make it fun, like when you're dancing, or feel like you can move your body freely like when you're dancing, but you're just on a stage. So you're really just experiencing life in a different way because you're expanding your mind, you're expanding your nervous system, and we're just using the language of the nervous system to be able to do that.
Oh, I like that. And I like that analogy because that yin energy that comes into that yang presence, especially as a
Yeah.
public speaker, where you're like, okay, we're going to deliver this.
Absolutely.
But then we're going to dance through this. And maybe it is those small movements. Maybe you're moving your arms, you're flaying, but it's that soft yin energy that comes in to keep it that playful nervous system, the playful energy, the positive aspects.
Yeah, absolutely. Because imagining everybody naked, like they used to tell me, didn't
No,
work, right? So
no, it doesn't work.
I
It
needed
makes
to
you look
bring
out in the
what was
crowd and you're
possible.
like,
Yeah, yeah,
sir.
yeah. You're like, I don't think I want to actually see this in my mind.
No, I'm good. So, with some of our audience right now who are struggling with just heightened nervous system, because also we're in a very fast-paced society. So, we're always in hustle mode, and especially business owners, we're constantly doing and lots of yang energy, lots of yang output. What's something that they can do right now that some suggestions that you could give that could get them back into that calm nervous system and more in that yin energy?
Yeah, yeah, cool. So, massive thing for what I've experienced and what a lot of my clients experience is really making sure that on a daily basis that you have some time with nature. Nature is so good with the ability to be able to bring you back, right? And ground you. So I used to go, oh yeah, grounding, whatever, meditation, whatever. But when you understand what's going on underneath it all and how the frequency of even nature can just lift you up, then going and putting your feet on the grass does wonders for your electromagnetic part of your system, right? And so if it's really hard for you to use your mindset, because let's face it, when you've been used to thinking a certain way for a long time, most people find changing your mindset really hard to do in the beginning. So using your body, get your body into nature. The ocean has the highest frequency that there is on the planet that can elevate your own energy field like 1,000-fold. If you're not in like near the ocean, even hearing the ocean on, a meditation app or imagining it, because the brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. Just imagine
Yep.
yourself floating over the waves. So nature's a massive thing, yeah. And then learning some like quick energy routines. Donna Eden is a wonderful woman who she's got, even on YouTube, a lot of energy routines that you can do for 5 minutes in the morning that set you up, and they just make sure that your energy is running through your body really well. Obviously, learn the basics of tapping would be another one, where you could do a couple of minutes in the morning before you start your day, a couple of minutes in the evening before you go to bed, and you'll sleep like a baby. So there's lots of different things that can contribute, but I'd say the main thing is whatever it takes for you to get back in your body, even if it's going and doing a dance class, even if it's getting back to what you love to do as a child. I used to love skipping, and I've never lost the ability to skip, because like my sister, she can't skip to save herself. And she used to skip as a child, but because she grew up and it was just in her mind a child thing to do, she doesn't know how to skip anymore, and she's like one of these like awkward skippers, and just like always look like a robot walking on the stairs up the driveway. Whereas I'll just randomly burst out in a skip, because I know that if I can connect with my inner child again, instantly that changes how I'm feeling, what I'm focusing on, what I'm thinking about. And often when I do little random things like that, I find that I get really good ideas, or I come across a person that I really needed to connect with, at some point of my life, to be able to move to the next level. Or suddenly I see something on YouTube that really supports where I'm at that I need to watch. So it's really just focusing on what you can do on a daily basis that really just helps you to be able to feel like that little spark that you used to be. And that in itself will align you to, what your deepest desires are and where you're going. And so all of the universe will then just conspire and go, hey, here you go.
Here you are.
Yeah, but you have to be aware. You have to be able to pay attention to it. So rather than focusing just on the symptoms and getting lost in that story, what else is out there? Be that curious child again, and just look for the possibilities of what else could be going on, because that in itself can help you pivot in any given moment.
Oh, I love that. One thing that me and my kids do, we'll put on music and we'll just dance in the living room.
Love
Like,
it.
I'll listen to all kinds of weird music from my childhood and we'll just sit there and dance. I mean, just like stand up and dance. And then they're like, Mommy, dance with me. Mommy, dance with me. Mommy, do this. Mommy, let's flow this way. And so they're getting their bodies into it as well, and just keeping up that childlike energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And my son's 14 now, and he went through this stage of, what is mum doing? Dancing in the kitchen. Because I just have dance parties whenever, even in the car, I'll just be like, dance party.
Yep. Yes.
If you've got to drive somewhere, you might as well have fun doing it.
Might as well.
Yeah, everyone else is sitting in traffic going, "Rrr," and I'm like,
okay. Hey, it ain't bothering me. I'm like, this is more music time.
Absolutely. So now that he went through that stage a little bit older, because, too cool for what mum did anymore. He kind of got over it really quickly, because he realized that actually she's having a lot of fun and she's happy. And I said to him one day, well, you can choose to join me, or you can choose to sit in your little story in your mind. And he's like, oh, okay. And then not only a week later, he's just started joining me. And it was so beautiful to watch, because I saw him, as a little one, because when they're little, they do anything with you.
Yeah.
But when they grow up, that's when it becomes even more
Don't tell me
challenging.
that. Don't tell me that. My kids are still little. They love being with me. They're going to love it
Yeah,
forever. They're going to have mom in their back pocket forever.
absolutely. And that's what I thought. And we had a really good relationship. But when they get older and they get into that socializing period, that's when if their friends aren't doing it, they're not doing it, right? But I think that the relationship that you do have with your child, as long as you're building that trust and you're always teaching them, connecting with who you really are and aligning with that, and that's your goal for every single day, they eventually kind of come back to that because I've noticed that now, as a 14-year-old, my son's actually watching like YouTube videos, not about just gaming or those kind of things that he was obsessed with. He's actually starting to expand it into things like Joe Dispenza and,
Oh,
even Abraham Hicks and things like that. So I just constantly was doing these things that made me feel better as I was going along in daily life. He had his judgments around it at one point, but
yeah.
now he's coming in, he's just starting to understand and starting to really want to live that way. And he even said to me not long ago, yeah, Mum, there was some things that were happening at school and some of the boys were getting rough and they were throwing things around and I just felt really uncomfortable and I thought, nah, this is not a good space to be in. So I removed myself from that group. And then about 5 minutes later, the teacher came over and put them all in detention. I was like, yes, if that's the only thing
Well,
I can teach you, how to harness your energy, how to
yeah.
feel what's going on, how to really make decisions that are aligned with who you really are, I'm winning as a
Yes.
parent if that's
Yeah.
the only thing that he gets from me,
I love that. I tell my kids a lot, if it doesn't feel good in your body and it doesn't feel good in your mind and you're hesitating or you're questioning it, the
Yeah,
answer is no.
absolutely. It's got to be a hell yes for you to do
Yes, it has
anything
to be
more
that
than
thing
that.
that you're like, I can't not say yes to this. I have to say yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, I feel that.
absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about your coaching hub that you have. This is this the same thing? Is this an app? Tell us a little bit more about how you support your clients inside the coaching hub.
Yeah, okay, cool. So with the Joy Hut, I wanted to create a space that could develop into wherever I felt like going.
Okay, I like it.
So I do have one-on-one, offers that I work with people closely. I'm also going into more facilitation with workshops and building a membership so that people can start to come and join and we can really just reconnect because I find that it's so easy to forget, a lot of these learnings and to bring them into your life when you're surrounded by completely different kinds of people and different environments. So coming together regularly to be able to just remember who you are is a really nice space to be in. So I'm developing that membership site, and through that will be, lots of opportunities like extra one-on-one work if people want to get really specific, and like workshops and things like that. So that's just about ready to go. And in
Yay.
the meantime, I work with people, for about a 3 month period to start with, where basically you've got me in your pocket, where we come together, we do some calls, but I also support you through that in between phase because I found that myself, I just found every time that I went to source help, I had to wait for my next appointment to feel better if I
Yeah,
felt like crap in the middle. So
yeah,
it just wasn't a way that I wanted to show up for people. So a lot of my clients get that in between text support, voice message support, if they've got questions or they are just having a challenging moment, and I can just guide them to where to start looking. And that can be just enough sometimes to be able to go, okay, cool, thank you, back on track until we speak
yeah,
again.
yeah.
So that's how I'm doing it currently at the moment. I've also written a children's book, so I've got that available as a resource for
Okay.
family. So that's called Sally Stinkin' Thinkin', and it's all about, the challenges that happen, and through a little metaphorical story, bit of a hero's journey where you find, your own hero within yourself and meet some really cool people along the way, or in this case, Australian wallabies.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go get this book.
Yeah, so and I've deliberately chosen I've got a skunk as the main character, so she's Sally the skunk, and I've got
Okay.
Wally the wallaby because I wanted to represent the two completely different worlds that people can come from as well. So
Yeah.
it kind of like different countries where these animals come from, but also that also means like a different value system, a different way of growing up, a different way of being, and then coming together and just, having that mentor that can help you to be guided through coming back to yourself. So that's basically what it's all about. And it's got a resource in the back that has little activities that relate to the story so that you can have that companion guide where families can come together and they can have discussions around, okay, well, who do you know that's a Wally the Wallaby in your life,
I
and
love
things
that.
like that. So I
I
wanted
love
to have
that.
it all in one because you know how you have a little story and then you have a companion you got to go buy separately. I'm like, nah,
Yeah.
let's just put it all in the same book.
Is this on Amazon? Where do we find this?
It's available on my website and Amazon, and it's in iBooks, I believe. It's in Barnes and Noble over there as well.
Oh,
So yeah, there's a few different places that you can find it. So yeah,
well, I'm
wherever
gonna be
you,
messaging you to make sure I'm getting like I want it because my daughter was going through some just bullying things. And
yeah,
so the way that you're explaining it, I'm like, showing a different perspective. We can all come from different places. Here's how we hold that compassion. That's what we were
yeah,
both taught.
absolutely. Yeah, and the illustrations are just gorgeous. I got this lovely lady to do the illustrations for me, and God bless her cotton socks. She found it challenging because I had to describe an Akubra hat, and it was really hard because she'd never seen one. She'd never been to
Yeah.
Australia, so I'm like, oh, it's not quite right. So I remember being on my phone because my actual computer died halfway through trying to communicate with my illustrator, and I'm trying to draw an Akubra hat on my screen and send it to her. So even just publishing a book, it's a whole new world. There's a lot of challenges. But yeah, the illustrations came out just beautiful. And that's one thing that a lot of kids absolutely love about it and comment on it regularly. So yeah, it's
Well,
a really,
one day when I come to Australia, I'm gonna get you to sign it. I'll send you a
yeah,
picture when I buy
absolutely.
it.
And I'll buy you an Okuba as well.
Yay, can't wait to see what that looks like. Well, before we go, I have one more question. If there's one piece of advice that you could give to the audience that's listening right now, what would you want to tell them?
Well, basically, my motto is whatever it takes to suck the juice out of every single life, just do it. Because
I like that.
you want to just make the most of it. I often wake up and I say to my son, I'm so grateful and so happy about today because today's not going to ever come again. There's
Mhm.
not 2 days that are the same. And even just that sort of remembrance is something that can absolutely change your focus for the rest of the day. So I would recommend, obviously, whatever it takes to suck the juice out of the day, do it. Remember that today is the last day that's going to be like this. And remember who you are. Who's that little girl or who's that little boy inside? And what did they love to do? Give her that again. Remember her. Go and get her because you connect with her. And I got goosebumps on my face now.
I'm
You go
getting
and
goosebumps
connect
everywhere.
with
Keep going.
her. You connect with her and the fears drop away. It's only our mind that keeps us in that. But your mind is only one part of you. You've got so much more that is who you are. And if you can be self expressive based on who you are at that deep connected level, oh, your life's just going to change.
That's wonderful. That's a wild perspective. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna have this day again.
I know,
And as a
right?
Leo, that like activates my positivity side of things of what a great day to have a great day
I know. Like the sunset, even the sunset looks different every
every
day.
day.
The
Yep.
colors are different. So, yeah, find the differences because we're often looking at the differences and comparing ourselves
Mhm.
because we're different to everyone else. But there's such uniqueness in the differences. Just like every sunset is different, every day is different. And it's beautiful and it's unique, as are you.
Yeah. I think it's a good reminder too to set down the technology. Even though it's great that we have it, we can, connect with people all around the world. It's also something that can entrap us. And it's just a
Yeah.
moment to get back in that present moment, just like we talked about in the beginning. Set it down and show up here.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it's a few breaths, hand on heart. Those little small, tiny acts, they do a lot for
Yeah.
yourself and for your body. And it's underestimated what a touch in a certain spot can do, you know, reconnecting the energy. Like even when you're doing this, and this is a little exercise that, everyone can
Okay,
do.
let's go.
So I want you to just, yeah, pop your thumb to your finger and take a breath and just notice where the breath goes in your body. Where would you say that it goes? Is it high in the chest? Is it in the middle? Is it down lower?
It feels more in the heart space.
Yeah. Now change your fingers to the next one. Breathe in. Where does the breath go?
I don't know, I kind of felt it in my stomach.
And the next one. Just relaxing your whole body as you breathe in, let it out, and just notice where the breath goes.
I almost feel this one like more in my face.
Mhm.
Is there a right or wrong answer to these?
No.
No. Oh, okay. I'm like, is this
There's
wrong?
never a right or wrong. There's never right or wrong. It just is.
Okay.
And then the pinky, where does it go?
This is like whole body, but I do feel
Yeah.
more in my head.
Yeah. So what you're doing there is you're just connecting and activating some of the different meridian systems,
Oh,
which
that's
is
cool.
changing your energy, which is also then therefore changing your emotional state, which is also therefore giving feedback to your brain.
Thank you, brain.
Simple, right? So your brain can be in your fingertips.
I am smart enough here.
So yeah, just those little resets, right?
I
And
like
like
that.
sometimes people find that, different fingers go right down to the base of their pelvis, or like you said, in the lower abdomen or like the stomach area or the heart. Often it's what you need at the time as to where it'll go.
Yeah,
And just let the breath come in there. And that's a really great little quick exercise that you can do just in the middle of the day to reset.
I do. I will find myself doing this when I'm thinking, like
That's
just
cool.
going.
You're
And then I'm like,
activating your
what am
brain.
I doing?
And that's it, following your body, right? Following your natural instinct of what to
Yeah.
do. It's our body. We know what to do. We do it all the time. Like when we're stressed, we're like, oh my
Yeah, and
goodness.
we're doing this and we're like, what in the world? Like, where the stress is going. It's overthinking.
Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
points there that are important,
Yes.
that help you relax. So everything in our beautiful body is there for a reason, and it's got this intelligence that, we need to follow. Otherwise, yeah, we can just totally get stuck in thinking that it's separate. But it's
Yeah.
but it's who we are.
Well, everybody says it's separate. That's all woo-woo stuff, don't you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Because they don't want us to
Woo-woo.
heal our own bodies. They don't want us to have
Yeah.
those things. They want to be in control of us.
Well, that's right. There's
Topic.
putting it out there. There's no money in self-healing, is there?
No, there's not. But yay, thank you for this podcast that we get to self-heal.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for your time.
You're
And
welcome.
tell everybody real quick where they can find you. We're also going to put that in the description for you guys. And I'm going to put the link to your book in the description so that people can have that as well. But tell
Awesome.
people where they can find you.
Yeah, no worries. So pretty simple, thejoyhut.com.au, Instagram, the JoyHut, one word, and obviously I'm on Facebook as well as the JoyHut Mind, Body, and Energy Coaching. So yeah, pop on and follow me, and a lot of resources are there on my website as well, including the book. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for
Yeah.
having me. It's been great to connect with you again.
I enjoyed this. All right, guys, you know how it goes. We will catch you on the flip side.